Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Karen Wey.
You're listening to the Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hey, Karen.
Hey there.
How's it going? So let's talk about what exactly do you do, Karen?
I solve problems. How about that?
Hey, there we go.
According to my state real estate broker's license, I sell real estate. I had somebody ask me once if I would list a $40,000 home. And I said, I absolutely would, because I don't list homes. I take care of people. So that's where the problem solving thing comes into play. The problems change. The goal changes every single day. That's the best part of real estate. So the worst part of real estate is the goal changes every day. Everything's a little bit different. So that's the worst part of real estate if you are a problem solver.
Yep. Hey, that's awesome. So let's back it up a little bit. When you were younger, did you know you were going to be an agent when you grew up, or what was your plan?
That was never the plan. Even after I was an agent, that was never the plan. I got into real estate to buy and sell a home. My husband and I adopted our youngest, and Lauren is now 23. And she came home to us from Romania when she was 2 years old. And I had resigned from my career, and I was going to retire and stay home with Lauren. And she came to us with some special needs that probably made us a little bit better suited as a family for a ranch style home instead of a 2-story. I think that's all kind of funny, because I think every child has special needs, and we continue with special needs through our life. You know, they always just kind of change. Hers were defined, and that ranch style home is something I started to look at. And we looked at a couple of homes. We never did move at that point. And I was recruited by the agent, by the broker that had the home that we were looking at. So I worked during nap time and preschool. And in fact, if you ask my kids, I bet you that they would say I didn't work, because I didn't, it didn't disrupt our lives, and it wasn't a scheduled thing, and fell in love with it. So I kind of say real estate chose me.
Hey, that works out good. Did you, when you started out, were you, you said you were recruited by them. Were you on a team, or were you just kind of solo with them, or how'd that go?
You know, I was a solo agent. I had a gentleman that worked in the office with me that wanted to partner, and we did that to begin with, which really worked out nice, because I never interviewed with any other companies. I wasn't looking to get into real estate.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't even tell anyone. I just thought, I'm just going to see what this looks like. And in fact, I said to the broker, he's now retired, but I said to the broker, I said, full disclosure, after I move, you might not ever see me again. So is that okay? I don't want any hard feelings. He said, no quotas. I'll take my chances and let you try it out. So that's exactly what I did. And I ended up, after 10 months in the business, I was recruited by the largest broker in the area, and ended up working over there with them. And here I am 18 years later.
It's crazy how that works out, isn't it?
It is.
So when you were kind of starting out there, you said, when did you decide you wanted to kind of do it full time?
I decided that it was going to be full time when it just wouldn't leave my mind. Yeah. And, it was one of those things where, you don't have to work like set, some realtors say they work 80 hours a week. I don't think they're actually working 80 hours a week. We're available a lot of hours, but I never work 40 hours, on real estate. I'm available probably 60 hours. But the one thing that's wonderful about real estate is if you're a time manager, you can decide when you're going to work and how you're going to make the most of your time. So I get up early in the morning. I get all the things done that I can do that does not require daylight or face-to-face. So all the paperwork, the research, making sure that I know what my market looks like, the new listings, all that kind of stuff. Emails, that's all done pretty close to when the sun comes up, sometimes a little later than that. But I'm fully engaged by 9 o'clock and usually like 9 to 3 face-to-face with clients.
Okay, nice. Did you adapt that structure from the get-go, or did that kind of evolve over time?
Well, I did adapt that from the get-go, but it wasn't, what I did with it is it was early morning, but then it was like nap time, or I
Right.
could get, but Lauren was in preschool from like 9:30 to 11:30.
Okay.
So 9:30 to 11:30, I ran and did the face-to-face stuff without her with me. And I'll tell you, anyone that needs to take a time management course, borrow a toddler, because when they nap, it's amazing
You
what
get
you can
so
do in
much
2 hours.
done. Yep.
The truth.
Yep, for sure. Awesome. Well,
So kind of how did you get to where you are now then? So you were going through like the time management stuff in the beginning and you structure your day. How did you get to where you are now?
There were a couple of critical decisions I made. When the market, and this was probably like in 2008, when the market really started to tank and we really started to get into bank repos and short sales, and there were people that were specializing in short sales, which is like a slow death, because you work on something for like 6 months and then last minute the bank decides that they're just going to let it go to foreclosure. So you've let down all these people and all that was crazy. But in 2008, I worked for a local company in Lansing, Michigan that is now part of a Coldwell Banker franchise. But I actually hired somebody when everybody else was like downsizing. Which was very scary. It's still scary to me to this day. I brought on somebody and put them on payroll for 30 hours. And I was scared to death to have someone be, waiting on me or counting on me. But I did it. And I figured, I'm really good with pressure. So if I put pressure on myself, I'll make sure I get, my $12 an hour times 30 every single week out of that. And that really pushed me. And I even had agents that came into my office because she had her own office space that I paid for as well. And they, people out of concern said,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? So anyways, with a very big smile on my face and a whole lot of confidence that, was on the outside, when on the inside, I was like, oh my God, let any of that show. And I said, I'm going to buckle down and make this business work. And I figured if I could do it in 2008, when that market turned around, I could do it with my eyes closed. So sometimes the risk factor, we encourage other people to do it, but it's really hard to do it ourselves. And practice what you preach.
Yep, for sure. So what kind of advice did you get back in the beginning when you started out that kind of stuck with you along the way?
One thing in particular, and it was a gentleman that I worked with. He's now retired. His name is Bob Pohl. And I was looking at, they used to post the sales. So it would have your name, the address, and what the property was sold for. And so I was looking at those boards of all that. And it's kind of like your report card, just hanging out there in front of everybody. And he walked up behind me and said to me over my shoulder something I will never forget. And I give credit where credit's due because I tell people this all the time. But I was a newer agent. I was less than a year old when he told me this, but he said, Karen, let me give you some advice. Whatever you do, make sure you can lose everything but a third of that. And he pointed at the board that had my name on it. Make sure that you can lose everything but a third of that and still make a living. And I thought that was really, really good advice. And that does two things for me. Number one, it puts me in a position where, I'm always protected financially because I don't count on everything that I have that's pending. Although most things, once they're pending, you could pretty much count on.
Yeah.
But number two, it makes me make better decisions because I don't just have one commission check coming in where then I say, okay, well, if this is falling apart, maybe if I give them, a credit here, I do this, or maybe I pay for the new carpet or the new refrigerator. I'm not tempted to do those things because I can keep my head on straight.
Yeah.
With no.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I would say that was the best advice I ever got. And I've never forgotten it.
That's awesome. So let's go the opposite direction now. What is one of the worst showings you've went to?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so one of the worst showings, I would say, because I'll tell you, there are some good stories out there. I'm kind of a boring agent where nothing really cool ever happens to me, but I will say some of the craziest ones. I had one where the whole family was home and they were having dinner and talking, and they're like, "Oh, come on in, no big deal." And it was super uncomfortable because they're literally like, I mean, it's like I walked in and I was invisible. Their life went on, even though I was there. And I'm walking around with my clients. They're super uncomfortable. I mean,
I
Oh
the
yeah.
last thing you
Yeah.
do is open up the refrigerator and open up the cupboard doors when the people are sitting there in the kitchen eating dinner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I would say that that's the most uncomfortable. But I'm going to tell you one other one that is a lesson to all of us. It started out kind of funny, but then I thought, that it's pretty amazing, especially where we are as a world right now. I have a friend that did an open house, and she had a woman come in that she did not see drive there. It was busy and there were a lot of people, and so she didn't know what car she drove or whatever. And this woman came in, and come to find out she was homeless. And when during the open house, she locked herself in the bathroom and took a shower.
Huh.
Oh
Wow.
Can you
wow.
believe that?
During the
And
open house?
yes. And
Wow.
Paula was like, "What is going on?" Borderline mad, kind of laughing, like, "What? Seriously? Is someone videotaping me?" And, the woman waited. She could possibly hear. And so when she walked out of the bathroom, she said to Paula, "I'm really sorry. I had to do that." And Paula watched her walk off, and knew at that point she must have been homeless. And Paula said, "I went from being like mad to, oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for her."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so sometimes you do not know. So this business of ours reminds me constantly that what people tell you is only what they want you to know. It's not their whole story.
Yep.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
That's
isn't that
crazy.
crazy?
Yeah.
That is
That's
crazy. I
pretty
don't think I've
crazy.
ever heard of any other situation like that.
Yeah, I know. Well, and then, kind of sidebar, um, I said to the agent, Paula, I said, "Okay, so did you tell the sellers that?"
Right?
And
Yeah.
she said, "I did." She
Yeah.
said, "Because I didn't know what was used behind that locked door. Did she brush her teeth? I mean, how far did the shower go? You don't
Right.
know."
Yeah.
So yeah, isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
Yeah. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I
That's
know it.
crazy.
I know it. So yeah, so there's kind of like my heartfelt story of someone else's, because mine is so boring.
Yeah. Hey, that's awesome. I like it. So what other things do you got going on besides the real estate?
I have all kinds of crazy cool stuff going on. Uh, I do, and I didn't say cool crazy. I said crazy cool, because it's probably a lot more crazy than it is cool. But I practice what I preach when it comes to real estate, and I think you can make a lot of money with it. And I'm constantly reading, and this whole side hustle thing. I started a little side hustle about 2.5 years ago, and I started buying rental properties, and I own 22 doors right now.
Nice.
I kind of like multi-units. I've got a 16, and then a 4 unit, and then a duplex, which is two. And I did that all like within a year's time. In fact, I said to my husband, I said, "Do you realize that I have purchased whatever the dollar amount was in real estate in this last year?" And he kind of laughed and looked at me. He said, "Yeah." And I wondered when you were going to figure it out, because I kept going, So, but I've been married for 36 years, and he knows me. So, kind of likes my crazy. And, that's going to be my retirement. I'm
Yep.
on a pretty fast track to get those paid for. And my portfolio is it's about 75% paid for at this point.
Nice.
Uh, so I could retire a little bit earlier if I wanted to, but I'll retire with those rentals bringing in a six-figure to me after my expenses are all paid. So
Nice.
you don't take care of yourself. Who's going to?
Yep, for sure.
So,
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Good for you.
that's kind of my crazy thing. I finally did move after 31 years in the same house and loved that home. My husband and I downsized to the house we're in now. Less house, more property. And I I love to walk it, and just we've got a nice big pond as you saw, and so I'll be swimming in that this summer, and just I love to be outside. So that's I'm excited to kind of groom this place and get it looking the way I want it to.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's awesome. I know it's definitely a definitely a nice property. It's
We're
pretty good
we're
size.
liking it. We're liking it so far. It's kind of cool. And the other thing I'm really proud of that's always in my life, and it's really brought me a good perspective of well, I should say it's enlightened my perspective on how important systems are
Mhm.
in anything you do. If you can do it once, great, but talk to me about doing it consistently and show me how to do it because that's really where the success lies. And this June, I'll mark 30 years taking insulin every time I eat, and
Mm.
the diabetes thing has taught me a lot of just like I said, respecting my systems and staying loyal to the consistency because
Mhm.
I don't care what you're doing. No one has ever said, I'm sorry, you're too consistent.
Yeah.
That's negative.
Said no
That's
one
never
ever.
said.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Consistency,
never said. I
consistency,
don't care what you're
consistency.
doing.
Yeah.
So yeah. So every day that diabetes skill set, for lack of a better term, falls over into my business. And I know it makes me a better person. I think it probably makes me a better business person too.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
there's my crazy stuff, my crazy busy.
I like it. I like it. Awesome. Well, let's say you had to start all over today and all you had was $1,000. How would you spend that $1,000?
That is interesting. That's really interesting. I think that I would put it all in a social presence. I think it'd go a really long ways, so I could do a lot with it.
Mhm.
But I think I would have an online presence uh, that's very inviting. Technology will never replace the relationship because anytime you're going to work with people, your tools are technology, but technology does not sell a home.
Mhm.
So I would put $1,000 in something that will compel people to call me.
That's awesome. I like it. I like
Nice.
it. What's one of the best books that you've read that you could recommend?
I would say the compound effect. It's been around since Moses walked the earth.
Yep.
But I just think that Darren Hardy is awesome. My crazy reads are always Grant Cardone. I love that guy. He is hilarious and so focused and so forgiving of himself. And so many people get in the way of their success because they won't forgive themselves.
Hmm.
They just keep thinking of the stupid stuff they do, and they just need to get over themselves. And I think Grant Cardone has done a lot of stupid stuff in his life, and he's made a lot of money talking about what he's done that's good and what he's done that's bad. That guy is real, for lack of a better term. So yeah,
That's
so I
crazy.
would say compound effect comes to light with that question. But I will say, if a book is good enough to read once, I read it at least 5 times. And the one thing that I do, and I did this with my first Gary Keller book back like 15 years ago. I bought his Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and I bought it at Schuler's over in Eastwood Town Center here in East Lansing. And anyways, when I read a book, and I read online, I read on my iPad a lot, but I really liked, if I'm going to study something, I want it on paper, because what
Hmm.
I do is I read it with a certain color highlighter and I date it. And then I go back through it again. And it's always interesting to me to see what my mindset was at
Yeah.
that point in my business life. And it's always entertaining to see what I missed. That I like, you idiot, that was, you saw this, but you didn't see this. So I blame that on a distraction of a phone or something else that went off. But it's really interesting for me to see how I evolve as a business person when it comes to that. The other thing that I do occasionally with my books if it's worthy of my time, then it's also worthy to teach. So I try and find a way to get the books I love to other people that I would like to mentor or just help out or whatever. And to do that sometimes, and I used to do some voice work a long time ago, but I'll read things that are important to me. I'll read them out loud. And I think it improves my speech, my presentation when I'm in listing appointments or whatever. So I do some of that sometimes. And, my family is now used to it, but they used to come in and like halfway talk to me like, Mom, who are you talking to? And then realize I'm reading out loud out of a book. But, there's power in that word that you hear, even in your own voice.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Nice.
that's definitely, I've read that a book a couple times now. So it's a good one.
And it's interesting too, like how you said, your mindset. The more you read it in a different mindset, you're going to pick up on different things that you looked right over the first time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing too is, there are other things that we repeat in our lives. A walk is good for you physically. And you don't just do it once and say, okay, now I'm going to just run. Okay. So now I've run. So now I'm going to try yoga. I mean, there's the consistencies in your life. And reading is the same way. And those resources we do need to get back to.
Yeah.
And people just don't do it. They don't treat themselves. One thing I try to do, and I say try because I really want to do it, and I'm like 50% there. So I reward myself because I love to read. I reward myself with reading by trying to get to one of my appointments at least 20 minutes early. Just because I'm there doesn't mean I have to go in. So I just park around the corner and then I read for 20 minutes. That's my treat for getting there. And then I can just pull in right when I need to get there rather than reading in my office and going, I go and then I read.
Okay.
And then, I go in there refreshed because I've already had a reward. It's like dessert first.
Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. I like it. How can people get a hold of you?
I'll tell you, my email is super easy. It's my name and my initials. So it's Karen Wey, KarenWey, Karen Wey at KW.com. My name and my initials. And
So
my
we-
cell number, which I'm most accountable to, is 517-202-1502.
Hey, that's awesome. Is there anything else you want to share with everyone before we go?
I just would like to thank you guys for being professionals that you are, Brad. I remember the very first time I called your company and I remember the address and it's kind of it's a funny little story that I'll tell you on another day, but remember exactly where it was. And you just have done such a nice job and it just evolved into such a huge business. So thanks for including the little people out here in your journey.
Hey, awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Are these working? Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
It might be there.
might be right there too,
Somewhere.
somewhere.
Find it. It's red.
Yeah, and it's
Red.
blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them also give us a 5-star review for listening to on Apple. That'd be cool.
5
5-star
stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take
But-
4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
No, I don't think this is working.
This is not working.